What's going on, everybody? Edge of Fate is just around the corner, meaning it's time to get those builds ready for the end game. Today, I'm bringing you an insane Warlock setup built entirely around one of the most fun and underrated exotics in the end game, Tommy's Matchbook. That's right, Tommy's is back, and this prismatic build is built for all content strikes, nightfalls, seasonal activities, and even grandmasters. It's going to have survivability, fantastic utility, as well as the ability to ignite and scorch everything. So let's dive right into how you can literally melt everything with this setup. Bungie's introducing featured exotics with the Edge of Fate, meaning certain exotic weapons and armor will gain the same benefits as new gear for this season or the major expansion. One of those happens to be Tommy's Matchbook. This means this bad boy will scale like never before with up to a 10% bonus damage just for being a featured exotic. But we'll have to wait and see what the damage percentage actually is once we get our hands on it. It is a perfect time to bring back an old classic, but with that prismatic twist. This build provides Scorch, Ignites, Overload capabilities, Unstoppable stunning, as well as various other ways to increase your weapon damage just for your exotic. Now, Tommy's Matchbook is a 720 solar auto rifle with ignition trigger. It overheats, and yes, it does burn you, but in return, it deals increased damage over time. And with this setup, that self-damage is going to be easily managed, and the scorch potential is absurd. It's going to stun overloads as well as unstoppables. In short, you are essentially a walking bonfire. Now, we're pairing this with that prismatic setup, and of course our super of choice is Song of Flame, giving us a huge 90% reduction to damage, Radiant with a 20% increase to damage to our weapons, and ability spam regen for us as well as our allies. And with Song of Flame active, any solar or kinetic weapon will also apply Scorch. Now, for the melee, we are going to be using our Arcane Needle because it's going to give us the ability to unravel targets, build into our Darkness Transcendence meter. For the grenade, we're going to have to go with Healing Grenade for on-demand restoration and cure because of that self-damage, and it's going to synergize extremely well with our exotic, meaning we are not going to have to worry about health. Now, for the aspects, a little bit of stuff is getting changed in terms of how many fragment slots we can have, but we want to build into survivability. So we are going with Lightning Surge to 1, amplify us, stun overload champions, and jolt targets, giving us a also 15% reduction to damage. Then there's Feed the Void. It is getting hit with a little bit of a nerf, but it's still going to be viable, granting us Devour on ability kills and restoring Devour with every kill while we have it active. Now, fragments. First up, Facet of Courage. This will deal increased ability damage versus darkness debuffed targets, meaning when we unravel them, our Arc, Solar, and Void abilities will deal increased damage. Next up is Facet of Protection to get that 15% reduction to damage, as well as 32% when we're in Transcendence. Then for added survivability, we are going with Facet of Purpose to get restoration every time we pick up an Orb of Power. Then lastly is Facet of Ruin. This is going to drastically increase the size and damage of our ignitions. These work so synergistically to keep us not only alive, but help everything around us explode thanks to the ignitions that Tommy's Matchbook is going to put out there. And of course, another way that we are going to mitigate Tommy's self-burn is by using the exotic helmet Speaker's Sight. This will turn our healing grenades into a restorative turret. It's going to heal us, but also our allies as well. Now, when we heal allies, it will also occasionally spawn an Orb of Power just to further build into our super as well as our weapon damage and just help keep us alive with restoration. Now, to talk about the rest of a loadout, one of the weapons we're going with don't technically have it yet because we want to build into special weapon as well as barrier capabilities. So once it drops, we are going with the Mint Retrograde. This is a new archetype and it is a Strand Rocket Pulse Rifle. It's going to have the ability to stun barrier champions, chunk tanky targets. It's going to be pretty fantastic. The only thing we're going to have to worry about is building into the ammo economy, but don't worry, we have that covered as well. Now, for the heavy, your weapon slot here is completely open. If you want to go with something with damage, you can toss on anything like a linear, a rocket, a grenade launcher that has bait and switch on it. Or if you want to go for mostly ad clear, just toss on a machine gun. I would just say customize it based on your playstyle or the activity that you are doing. With a new expansion comes a brand new set of artifact mods, and this is where the build really begins to cook. First up, we've got Overload Auto Rifle to have the ability to stun Overload champions, and since Tommy scorches, it can stun those unstoppables as well. Now, in the second column, we've got Flame, Fiber, and Freeze. This will combine the Solar and Strand mods, as well as the Solar and Stasis Siphon mods into one mod. Then we're going to pair that with Diviner's Discount, which will discount all Scavenger mods, meaning we can easily build into our ammo economy with our Mint Retrograde. Now, for the third column, we've got Fever and Chill. This states rapid precision hits with a solar weapon will grant us Radiant, giving us that increase to damage. And then there is Elemental Benevolence, so when we grant an ally an elemental buff, meaning restoration from our grenade, it is going to give us class ability energy back. Now, column 4 is where it really starts to get spicy with Cauterized Darkness. Stasis or Strand debuffed non-BAS combatants will take increased solar damage from all sources, meaning our Tommy's Matchbook if we've got a solar heavy, as well as our super. Then there's Elemental Daze, so when we stun a champion with an elemental weapon, it is going to create an elementally aligned explosion, applying a matching elemental debuff to them and nearby targets. In layman's terms, every time we stun a champion with Tommy's Matchbook, it is going to create a solar explosion, creating a solar debuff, in this case that is going to be Scorch, to them and nearby targets, just further scorching and igniting every single thing that we're shooting at, especially when champions are by other enemies. Now, column 5 is where everything goes crazy, with Radiant Shrapnel, dealing sustained weapon damage while we're radiant, or when we defeat a Scorched combatant with a weapon, it's going to cause that target to release solar projectiles that deal damage and scorch on impact. You can see how this build is straight up just focused on scorch and ignitions and blowing up and igniting every single thing in any activity that you do. Lastly, we've got Shield Crush. So while we're amplified or we have Radiant, our grenade is going to recharge faster. Now, when we have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Avoid Overshield, something that we can get from one of our teammates, our melee is going to deal more damage and recharge faster as well. For the armor mods, specifically stat-wise, we want to be focusing on probably grenade and weapon damage as much as possible, but we'll really break that down once we get a full look at what Armor 3.0 actually looks like. For the helmet specific mods, we're going to go with a Solar and a Strand Siphon mod, as well as a hands-on to gain bonus super energy on those melee kills. Now for the gauntlets, we're going to toss on Heavy-Handed to create an Orb of Power off melee kills, Fastball to throw a grenade further, and then Impact Induction, so when we cause damage with the powered melee, it will reduce our grenade cooldown. Now, for our chest piece, I'm going to toss on 2 resistance mods that match the activity that we're doing, as well as a Strand Reserve mod to increase the ammo for our Mint Retrograde. For the legs, we're going to be tossing on Orbs of Restoration, so when we pick up an orb, it'll grant a small amount of energy to our ability that has the least energy. Then to further build into Tommy's Matchbook damage, we're going to put on a Solar Weapon Surge. Since we're constantly going to be creating Orbs of Power, why not utilize it and get more damage out of our exotic? Then there's Better Already, so every time we pick up an Orb of Power, our health will begin to immediately regen. And lastly, for the class item, of course we're tossing on Reaper, so when we use our class ability, our next weapon, Final Blow, will create an Orb of Power, Powerful Attraction to automatically attract those orbs when we use our class ability, and lastly, Bomber to reduce our grenade cooldown when we use our class ability. And there you have it, a fully prismatic, fully synergized Warlock build centered around Tommy's Matchbook, ready to dominate the end game. You've got Scorch, Ignitions, Healing, Orb Generation, and every tool that you're going to need for any type of content. Let me know what featured exotics you're excited to build around, whether it's an armor piece or a weapon, or hell, even both. If you enjoy this, feel free to drop a like, subscribe if you are new, and as always, thank you so much for coming and watching, and I will catch you in the next one.